It started as one of those calm nights when laughter was supposed to fill Ashley's apartment, not heartbreak. But what began as a casual evening of cocktails and light talk soon became the night that shattered friendships and trust beyond repair. According to insiders, Karlie had stumbled upon something dangerous, a truth about Ashley and Mendeecees that could turn every loyal friendship into open warfare. Whispers spread that the two had been hiding an affair for months, playing innocent in public while keeping their secret alive in private. And right in the middle of it all stood Zayn, unaware that his entire world was about to collapse before his eyes. The night began like every other, cameras ready, music soft, and smiles practiced. But if you looked closer, you could feel something heavy in the air. Zayn walked in first, scanning the room like a man who already sensed betrayal. His eyes moved between Ashley and Mendeecees, noticing the quick glances they exchanged. Too cautious, too familiar. He muttered to himself, "I don't like being left out of the loop," gripping his drink tighter, unaware those words would soon echo in his head all night. Karlie, with her sharp instincts and flair for drama, noticed it too. The awkward pauses, the forced laughter, the coded gestures that gave away more than words ever could. She leaned toward a friend and whispered, "Something's off tonight. You might want to know what's really going on between Ashley and Mendeecees." But her whisper didn't stay hidden. It reached Zayn's ears. And in that instant, the room froze. Zayn's head snapped toward her, eyes burning for answers. "What did you just say?" His tone wasn't loud, but it silenced every conversation. Karlie hesitated, realizing she'd gone too far, but there was no turning back. She spoke clearly and calmly. "I've seen enough to know something is happening, and Zayn, you deserve to know." The words hit harder than anyone expected. Ashley's smile faded instantly, her composure cracking like glass. Mendeecees, normally cool and unbothered, shifted in his seat, his confidence slipping. The friends who'd gathered for a quiet evening could only exchange nervous glances, their fake laughter replaced by stunned silence. "I don't know what she's talking about," Ashley said quickly, her voice trembling behind an artificial calm. But Zayn wasn't fooled. His heart pounded in his chest as he looked from her to Mendeecees and back again. "So you're both just going to pretend nothing's wrong?" The tension was unbearable. Karlie, standing in the middle of the storm she'd just created, said softly, "I didn't want to cause chaos." "But hiding it isn't helping anyone." Zayn slammed his drink on the table, liquid spilling onto the floor as his voice cracked. "You've been keeping this from me?" "Zayn, it's not what you think," Ashley began, but he cut her off before she could breathe. "Not what I think? This isn't about being late to dinner. This is about trust, Ashley. Something you clearly don't understand." Mendeecees, trying to stay calm, spoke up in a low, careful tone. "Zay, I didn't want you to find out this way. I was going to tell you." Zayn's laugh came out hollow and sharp. "Tell me? You mean wait until it exploded? Until I found out like this and in front of everyone?" The room was so quiet you could hear the sound of ice melting in someone's glass. Karlie stood motionless, realizing there was no way to control the situation now. Zayn's eyes glistened as he looked at Ashley. "After everything we've been through, every promise, every late-night talk, this is what you were hiding?" "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," Ashley whispered, her voice shaking. Zayn's voice softened, but the pain inside it was sharper than any shout. "Then why does it feel like you already did?" Mendeecees leaned forward, his expression tense. "I didn't plan this, Zay. It just happened." That sentence snapped something in Zayn. He let out a cold laugh, his voice trembling with fury. "It just happened?" "You don't accidentally betray people, Mendeecees. You make a choice. You made one." Every person in the room froze, watching the emotional wreckage unfold. Karlie's heart raced as she realized the weight of what she'd unleashed. Ashley's eyes filled with tears, her voice breaking. "I didn't know how to stop it." Zayn shook his head slowly, voice almost breaking. "Stop it? You could have stopped before it ever started." The room was thick with silence, so heavy it almost hummed. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Friends sat wide-eyed, watching love, friendship, and loyalty collapse right before them. Zayn finally sank into a chair, dragging his hands down his face. Ashley reached for him, but he recoiled instantly. "Don't," he whispered. That single word carried more pain than 1,000 arguments. The tension in the air felt alive. Every breath ragged, every second longer than the last. Karlie glanced between them, realizing her truth had started something that could never be undone. The night had changed forever. Ashley's tears fell freely. Mendeecees stared into the floor in shame. And Zayn's heart cracked open right there in front of everyone. And that was the moment it all began. The night Karlie spoke a truth that ripped everything apart. The room felt like it had stopped breathing. Zayn sat still, eyes hollow, the sound of his pulse louder than any voice around him. Ashley tried to reach for him, but he pulled away. "Don't," he said softly, his tone sharp enough to slice through the air. "Zayn, please let me explain," she whispered, trembling. "Explain what?" He snapped. "That you and Mendeecees decided I didn't deserve the truth?" The weight of those words froze the room. Mendeecees, standing a few feet away, finally spoke, his voice quiet but shaking. "I never meant for this to happen." "I didn't want to hurt you," Zayn laughed bitterly. "You didn't want to, but you did. You hid it, you lied. You let me stand beside you while you both smiled in my face." Ashley's eyes filled with tears. "It just happened," she said weakly. Zayn's voice cracked. "No, you chose it. Every lie, every secret, those were choices." Mendeecees stepped forward, guilt written all over him. "I thought I could control it. I thought if it stayed private, no one would get hurt." "Private?" Zayn repeated, his tone rising. "You call that private?" "I call that betrayal." He slammed his hand on the table, the sound echoing through the apartment. Everyone flinched. "You are my brother, Mendeecees, my family. And you—" He turned toward Ashley. "You were supposed to love me." Tears streaked down Ashley's cheeks. "I do love you," she whispered. Zayn shook his head slowly. "Then why does it feel like you buried me alive?" The silence that followed was unbearable. Karlie finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. "Zayn, I know it hurts, but you needed to know. The truth always comes out." He looked at her for a long second. "Yeah," he muttered. "But sometimes the truth just kills what's left." Without another word, Zayn turned and walked out. The door slammed behind him, leaving Ashley sobbing and Mendeecees frozen in guilt. Karlie stood still, realizing she had started something no one could stop. As the cameras kept rolling, the apartment sat in silence. Love gone cold, friendship in ashes, and truth hanging heavy in the air. And by morning, that night would be remembered as the moment everything changed. When one secret burned down everything that once felt real. Everything that once felt real.